Today is October 6th. I'm Susan Mahony, and today's talk is going to be about appraisal issues. We are having many appraisal issues with the sales of homes in today's market. What's happening right now is the sellers are putting their houses on the market. They're getting multiple offers, especially the standard sales. Standard sales are selling at crazy rates. They're selling at crazy prices. Prices are going up and up and up, but the appraisers, once there's a loan that's going to be put on the property, is putting a stop to the inflated craziness that usually happens in a market like what's going on today. The available properties that are on the market today are probably, in most areas, almost a fourth of what they were in the last, even just 2 years, even in the last 7 years. The last 7 years, we would have anywhere between 800 to 1,000 listings on the market at any given time in Rancho Cucamonga. Right now, we're lucky we cracked 300. So, and a lot of those are REOs, which for those of you who don't know, those are bank-owned properties. The other half is short sales, and the remainder are standard sales, a regular sale, where a regular Susie buyer and Johnny seller buy and sell a property. There's no banks involved except for paying off the loan of the current property. So, you ask, how do we get past all of this appraisal issue? We don't have an opportunity of getting past it except dealing with it on a sale-by-sale basis. So what's happened today is we have multiple offers that come in on all of the properties that are out there that actually get we actually have multiple offers on each property that comes onto the market that's reasonably priced. There's a lot of investors out there right now that are picking up properties because the properties are at a great value. Properties are at an all-time low. They are the best buy that they're ever going to be right now. We don't expect the market to go down any further at this point. We are expecting properties to go up. With the appraisal issue that we're having is most banks are not willing to add that extra $5,000 because there's multiple offers. They're not willing to, say that, hey, that pool that you put in the backyard last year for $150,000 is actually worth $150,000 on the resale market. It's not. You'll be lucky to get $10,000 to $15,000 for the pool as far as an appraised value goes. Are you getting extra money for your granite countertops? Are you getting extra money for your stainless steel appliances? If you're in a neighborhood that's over 10 to 15 years old and a buyer or a seller or the banks or anybody else that's out there looking at your property expect you to have the property at an updated value, meaning that you need to have your house completely updated to get top dollar for your home. If your house still has 70s carpet in it, and it still has 70s cabinetry in it, and it still has a yellow sink in it, chances are you're not going to be getting top dollar for your house in today's market. Nor will the appraiser give you top dollar for that property. So the appraisers are very well aware of what top dollar is in today's market. So sellers, please know that if you're putting your house on the market and you want top dollar, your house has got to show like top dollar, okay? Especially if it's a standard sale. If you're doing a short sale and the property is selling for less than what you owe on the property, again, it's going to be a great deal for the buyer. It's not a great deal for the bank. It's going to be a very difficult transaction for you, and the appraiser is going to be extremely tough on that appraisal. An REO transaction, again, appraisers are not working for the seller. They're not working for the buyer. They're working for the bank who's loaning the money to the buyer. So they're protecting their interest to make sure that this property isn't being oversold. Even though you had 14 offers on the property, the price was driven up $55,000, chances are that the buyer who wrote the offer, that one, knows that the appraiser is not going to sell that property or excuse me, not sell, they're not going to appraise that property for that $50,000 over. They're going to appraise the property for what market value is. So what happened? Buyers came in, they bid, prices went way high, and the buyer who said that they're willing to pay the most is taking a gambling chance that the appraiser is not going to appraise the property for the price that buyer and seller agreed upon. So now the seller says, fine, I still want that higher price. I don't care if the loan and the lender and the appraiser are not going to pay for it. They're not going to appraise the property. I want the money in difference in cash. Yes, that is a possibility. But seller, like you, buyer is not going to want to pay over appraised value for the home. It's just not going to happen. They'll wait for the next home to come on the market. In today's market, there's not a lot of properties that are on the market, so therefore the buyers don't have to buy. They don't have to buy to sell that property that they're in right now. So what they're going to do is they're going to wait for the next property to come on. So seller, if you're looking to sell your property and the appraiser is appraising the property $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 below what your asking price is, or even what the agreed price was on the property, chances are that's what's going to happen. So please know, buyers and sellers, appraisers are the ones who are taking care of the prices. They're working for the banks. They're not working for the agents. They're not working for the buyer, and they're not working for the seller. So the people who are loaning the money, the people who are giving the money to the buyer, are making sure that their vested interest is protected, and that we eliminate any more foreclosures, we eliminate any more short sales. We're trying to get the property as strong as possible at this point. That's what the reasoning is behind the appraisers being extremely strict on all appraisals. So yes, your property is worth much more. Yes, it will probably be worth much more in the future. When? We don't know that. Will it be next year? We don't know. Right now, prices are going up a little bit because there's so many buyers out there. But still remember, the agents aren't the one driving the market. The sellers aren't the one driving the market. It's the buyers and how many buyers are coming in, writing offers. And then it's going to be whether the appraisers find that there is value in that property or not. So we're sorry to say there's not a whole lot we can do to change it at this point. We do have to adhere to the appraisal values. You can always say, no, we don't want to sell the house for that, put it back on the market, get a conventional buyer, a buyer who's going to put a lot more money down than 3% or 5% or 10% or even 15%. Anything that's 20% or below, it's going to be a real tough appraisal. The banks are going to make sure that their vested interest is completely taken care of. Okay? So what does this mean? This means that the buyers that are out there are going to be coming in with more money down. That's the way that the buyers are going to win. Now remember, sellers, you're going to get multiple offers. You're going to get offers that the buyer is willing to pay $50,000 over. They're going to say, hey, I'm going to put 50% down. Halfway through the transaction, they're going to say, oh, nope, sorry, I want to change that. I want to go ahead and put 20% down. The problem that the buyers aren't realizing, and some agents aren't letting their clients know, is that the appraiser is the last person who is going to make sure that this transaction is going to go completely through, that it's going to be completely appraised. So if the buyer decides halfway through the transaction to change it to 20% down, it's going to be a tough appraisal. And then at that point, the seller does have the right to cancel the transaction, give the buyer the deposit back and say, hey, this is not what we agreed upon doing. So no, sellers, you have rights. You have the right to cancel the transaction at any point. If you don't like the way the transaction is going, because the buyer all of a sudden changed their financing, or because the appraisal didn't come in, you have the right. It's a contingency. It's a contingency of the offer. And buyers, you have the right to change your offer in there, but know that the seller has the right to cancel because you changed it. Okay?